Yeah, so this function, this array loop thing in the main class, it's just to output the frequently asked questions that, let's say, customers might have about these cars. Format specifier, it defines the type of data to be printed on standard output. A format specifier starts with a percent character and ends with a type character indicating the type of data, such as float, int, or etc. In the picture, in the graph to the right, I included all the possible format specifiers that are possible. This graph is really helpful, but for this case, I used the percent sign n, which is different from the others in that it doesn't take arguments. All it does is simply an escape sequence that inserts a character into the output. The percent n inserts a new line. It can be entered directly into the format string. In my code, for some reason, the percent n wasn't working, so I googled and tried the \n, and that seemed to work. So that's what I've been using. So yeah, you can see the code, and then when we output it, it just creates a new line, so it won't be all cluttered up when we output all the information. Overriding is a feature that allows a subclass or child class to provide a specific implementation of a method that is already provided by one of its superclasses or parent classes. When a method in a superclass, subclass has the same name, same parameters or signature, and the same return type as the method in its superclass, then the method in the subclass is said to override the method in the superclass. Here in my code, the parent class known as abstract vehicle declared the color and type of the vehicle. The child class extends the abstract vehicle parent class, and now we don't need to declare color and type again. We can just create an object of color and type. Some advantages to overriding is that we don't need to modify the parent class. Since we already extended, we don't need to touch it, and it provides multiple implementations of the same method and can invoke parent class overridden method using super keyword, as seen in line 12 and the bottom of my code picture. Interface. Like a class, an interface can have methods and variables, but the methods declared in an interface are by default abstract. In order to declare an interface, we have to create an interface. In the left, we have 3 pictures. The middle one is the interface I created, which I named my interface. And inside the interface, we have 3 methods: method 1, method 2, method 3. So all these 3 methods in an interface are declared with an empty body and are public, and all the fields are public, static, and final by default. A class that implements an interface must implement all the methods declared in the interface. So in order to implement the interface, we use the keyword implement. So in the first picture, we have our main class called car main, followed by the keyword implements, followed by the name of the interface I created, which is my interface. The methods inside the main class, we can decide what we want them to function. So in this case, we want these methods to function as a system out print, So we just want them to print out the sub what they're gonna like a title. So like luxury cars, sports cars, and frequently asked are like little titles, and underneath will be the output of the programs. And in order to implement that to run, we have them at the very bottom of the picture. We have my interface object one, obj1, my bad, equals new car main, and then obj1 dot method. So this is calling the methods, and this will spit out what we want, which is the system out luxury car, because it's method one. And it's going to be doing the same thing with that with the other two methods. An abstract is an act that represents the essential features without including background details. The general form declaration of a class abstract is followed by the keyword abstract class, the class name, and the body of the class enclosed by curly braces. For an abstract method, we declare it by the general form of the keyword abstract, type method name, and parameter list. A thing to know is that there are illegal combinations with other modifiers. We cannot combine abstract with final, abstract static, and abstract private, just to name a few. In my code, I have an abstract class called abstract vehicle, along with its methods and constructor. Abstract classes are allowed to have constructors. Some advantages is it reduces complexity of viewing things. It also helps with less code duplication and more code reusability. It would also help the security of a program, as only important details are provided to the user. Polymorphism is the concept of one entity providing multiple implementations. The ability of a variable, function, and object can take multiple forms. This is very useful when we define one interface. When we define one interface, it can contain multiple implementations. The two types of polymorphism is compile time and runtime. In my code, I have the class abstract vehicle, which has different objects that include type and color. As we extend this class, the following class, which is the child class, will use those object concepts from the parent class, which will then have multiple implementations. Again, in order for this to work, we need to extend the parent class to the children class. Some of the advantages of polymorphism includes helping programmers reuse the code and classes once written, tested, and implemented. So they could be reused in many ways. Single variable names can be used to store variables of multiple data types, such as float, double, long, int, and etc. Polymorphism also helps in reducing the coupling between different functionalities. However, it does have some disadvantages. Some of them include that it's difficult to implement polymorphism in the code of programs. The runtime of polymorphism can lead to performance issues because the machine sometimes needs to decide which method or variable to invoke. So it just basically degrades the performances as decisions are taken at the runtime by the computer. So polymorphism also reduces the readability of the program. One needs to identify the runtime behavior of the program to identify actual execution time. So the code might look a little bit confusing if we implement polymorphism. Encapsulation is a technique of wrapping the data and code under a single unit. In this concept, the variables of a class are always hidden from other classes. The user will not be able to know what is going on behind the scene since it's set to private. It can only be accessed using methods of the current class. Encapsulation is achieved by declaring all variables in that class as private and writing public methods in the class to set and get the values of variables. So in my code on the right, I have the class, on the left, my bad. I have the class sports cars. Here we have the instant variables private, so they won't be accessed directly outside the class. We have to set and get these variables through the method of the class. That's why I have private string type and private double speed. And throughout the code, I have public get and setter methods because the user can't access these directly because they are private again. The second picture shows a similar process, the one below. Some advantages of using encapsulation consist of modifying the code without breaking the code of others who use it. It allows us more flexibility, extensibility, and maintainability to the code. So to recap, I will show you my program classes and then summarize them. So here I have the class abstract vehicle. So I decided to name this abstract vehicle because it's going to be used for both classes. For both cars, luxury and sports cars. So as we continue along, this class will be extended into other classes. I declare and initialize the color and type of an abstract vehicle here. In the last part, in the last part of the code, the string to string part, this type model and this color, we will call that in the main class to give us the type and color of all the cars. In this class is very similar to the last class, the abstract vehicle class. Here we extended the abstract vehicle class and initialized and declared the brand and price of luxury cars. Since we already declared the type of parent, the type in the parent class before, we don't need to do it here. So in the string to string line 26, this will be called in the main class, and that will give us the type and brand of all the cars. So in line 33, this method is only to output the price of luxury cars. Here I created a sports car class that extends the properties of the luxury class before. Here I declare and initialize the type and speed. Since we need to know how fast sports cars go, so in line 30 it's saying if the speed of the car is less than 220, it will output the type and the speed of the car. So and if it's more, it will output the same thing but with the other car. This is my interface. So I named it my interface. I created 3 methods: method 1, method 2, and method 3. These will be called later on in the main function.
I continue with my object. I put in the array with these four objects that I created. Let's call it the I call it the output method. With the other put the subtitle. I gave the methods. I explained it in the other slides, like luxury car, and then I'll put the for loop. The information is basically I will output the sports titles from the custom, and then I'll put the method 3 is going to information of the system out. You'll see that on the next slide, which is the output information. Then I created an array of size 4 to hold my objects that I will create. The objects are the 4 cars, 2 of them are luxury cars, and the 2 are sports cars, including their parameters for luxury car. The parameters are type, color, brand, and price. However, for the sports, I kept it the same, except instead of the price of the sports cars, I put the speed of the sports car. As you can see here, this is the output of my program. So again, the subtitles are just luxury car, sports car, and then frequently asked questions. And under all of them is the outputs that we called. And to finish, these are some of my references I used for the presentation. Thank you.